Um, so the group kind of gets together. I think you mentioned that they vote on stuff. Now it's interesting. Again, 2020 was an election year, totally nuts. When you do your elections, I don't know, is there any kind of drama? Because I've hit that from time to time. When you've got students trying to figure out what direction, you've got this faction, you got this faction. How do you handle that kind of a situation?
That is such a good question, and it's challenging every year because someone's feelings are going to get hurt. Someone's going to think their idea was superior. I think we put together, like a lot of schools do, like a vision board, a digital vision board. And when each group does their presentation, they get a lot of time and a lot of space to talk about the look that they're going for, the reason why they're going for it, the possibilities of the theme. They get enough time to work on the project that they can really pitch it, which I love the idea of yearbook kids having to pitch their ideas. I mean, even just in storytelling, I think every kid should have to pitch the reason why they want to cover this person or this particular event, the angle they want. So they're already a little practiced in doing that. But the vision boards are so helpful because as soon as we do vote on a theme, um, everybody knows that we're going to go back into those boards and pull graphic inspiration, even verbal inspiration. A lot of times we'll find that the themes are very similar that the kids are working on. Concept wise, they're very similar, but we just want the one that has the most unusual phrasing, or some of the phrasing can be super optimistic or kind of fall flat. So we're always looking for that right tone or the right feeling. For Open Up, it was all about trying to get students to feel comfortable telling their stories and opening up and sharing with us. For Limitless, it was, the whole goal was to be hopeful, to not focus on just the negative aspects of COVID and closing off. So I think, just trying to get kids to figure out what the right theme is. And then here's the other thing that's been really helpful is once we pick a theme, which we do pretty early, we will again this year, we usually pick our theme right around the middle of May. And then we work on it for another month. And then over the summer, we'll go to some workshops, right? That's really, really, really important. It's hard to get kids to want to work on this stuff in the summer, but as we're working with the theme, if the theme is falling flat, my kids have permission to reinvent the wheel and go back to the well and figure out if there's something there that they want or if they need to imagine something new. The problem, of course, is that we have to submit our cover usually at the end of August. So it's really important, as I said, for kids to work on the theme all summer and really figure out what it's going to look like to get that cover set up.
I have to wonder, looking to the future, once we get out from under this dark cloud we've been dealing with, a hybrid idea of an in-person and an online somehow working together to make a better effort. What do you think about that? Am I crazy?
No, I mean, what's funny is, we've been watching yearbook advisors and yearbook reps. We've been watching our students be over the last few years, right before COVID. We've been watching them be less engaged in the yearbook experience outside of school. So to get kids to stay after school and want to work together, that was the way always through about 2014. Kids would stay after school for 2 or 3 hours, however many days a week, and there's all this great team bonding that was happening and some work that was happening after school. But so many advisors have seen kids be less interested in collaborating and working together after school. Well, now that we're doing this online, right, it's been so neat to see the kids actually creating their own ways of connecting from home and working from home. And so I think that is something that will carry on. I believe that kids will be more motivated to collaborate in a hybrid environment, which I think is going to benefit us in the long run.
All right, a side question there, because I've heard this from way too many yearbook advisors this year. Kids are just not motivated. And not just yearbook, I'm talking any class, pick a class, math, social studies, whatever class. Kids are just not motivated this crazy year. What's your opinion on that? Do you see something like that?
All right, that is 100% true. But in physics class we learned that law, a body at rest tends to stay at rest, a body in motion tends to stay in motion. And a lot of people have asked me previously, we do almost a 370-page book and we finish it at the end of March. So people are like, how do you pull that together? We have rapid succession deadline cycles. And I think my philosophy has always been, if you keep kids engaged, and set them up for success with check-in points. We have, coverage deadline where you have to know who you're covering and what the story is going to be, and you have to pitch it to the class and talk it through. So there's a coverage deadline, and then there's a photo deadline where they have to bring all their photos to the group, and then they look at them together and place them on the page and talk about them. Then there's a copy deadline where they have to turn their stories in, and there's editors who go in and make comments on them. And then there's a revision and final deadline. All of these deadlines happen within a 2 or 3 week cycle, and so that's keeping kids on track, right? They can't afford to not be up to par or up to snuff on the deadline day, because their peers are going to see their work isn't finished. And more than anything, the kids hate it when other kids see them failing, right? So, but creating this kind of momentum where we're always moving, right? The day that we finish a deadline is the day that we celebrate it. And then the Monday we come back is the day that we dive back in with new spreads, new topics. And I think having that kind of momentum, even during COVID, the kids are a little slower for me this year, and they're not all meeting the deadlines the way they normally would, but I've noticed that they're pulling it together by the time they finish the deadline. So yeah, things are shifting a little slower, but I think, once they're back together, and I've noticed there's a lot more energy, a lot more smiles, enthusiasm. I think that's going to be really helpful for all of us. And kids haven't changed, just their whole world has changed. And that was true back in, like I said, 2014. The reason kids don't stay after school anymore is because we got social media, and we have so many other ways that we can connect. We don't have to stay in the classroom to do it. So the question is always, how can we shift how we're doing what we do to integrate with how the world is changing, right?